Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Industry Talk. The Industry Talk is where when we dive into the behind the scene of industry and journeys of the people who shape it. And before we get started, please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and to follow me on my social media just to make sure that you don't miss any upcoming interviews, and all the information will be in the description. Thank you for joining me today. I am your host, Berthe Dolgele, and today I am delighted to welcome Alexander Sieder. Hello, Anne.
So nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
That's great. Okay, let's begin and roll the intro. So, Anne, you were born in Detroit, Michigan. You were in the USA. You studied dramatic art in Chicago. You trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. And you moved to Germany almost 3 decades ago for personal reasons.
Yes.
We're going to talk about it later. And you took what amazed me all the time is like you took a 16-year break from on-screen acting, and you restarted your acting career at the age of 47. You organize acting workshops in Munich, inviting international coaches. You are also a film, TV, voice actor, entrepreneur, coach, mentor, and you are also an award-winning actress. Am I right or am I right?
You are right. I'm also an award-winning screenwriter, and I am a business coach for actors. And a podcaster. I'm a podcaster. You know me from my podcast.
Exactly. That's how I make that. The first time I saw your video was a couple weeks ago. And what you were saying was so deep. And I felt this is the woman I need to have in my industry talks. I love the way you do things. You explain things. It's so, I think that we all know it personally, but we don't do it. So we're going to dive. Let's start. First things first. Can you just tell me who you are, where you're from? I know you're from the United States, but what you've done until, let's say, the beginning of your 20s.
Well, as you mentioned, I was born and raised in Detroit. I moved to Chicago when I was about 17 years old. That's where I first started studying, drama. Back then it was called dramatic arts. I don't even know if it's still called that anymore. Who knows? It was a long time ago, almost 40 years ago. And I did a lot of Chicago theater. I was SAG-AFTRA, working on my equity card. Didn't have to have a side hustle, which was great. Was even making, America is very, it has its pros and cons. Once you get into a union, you're very protected, so that was great to be part of SAG. And I was earning enough money to also have my health insurance paid for, which is huge in America because America does not have a social net for those kind of things. So either you can afford it or your employer can afford it. In this case, SAG was my employer. Or you're out of luck. You just don't have it. So that was great. And then life kind of threw me a curveball in the shape of this hot German guy. And I had been bouncing back and forth between Europe anyway. So I had moved to London to finish up my studies at RADA, as you mentioned. And then my sister at the time, she was studying at the Sorbonne in Paris. So I went and stayed with her for 6 months.
So you speak French?
Un petit peu. Je comprends, mais je ne parle pas. Je voudrais un verre en blanc.
That's the most important thing. Right. Usually American, they know, voulez-vous coucher avec moi? I said no.
That one I know too. Yeah. But as a woman, you don't have to ask, right? It's the man that has to ask.
That's true.
Right. So, what else? And then I moved to Rome for a couple of years, and parlo anche italiano.
Woo!
Molto meglio che il francese. And then, then I moved back to Chicago, and then I moved to Germany. And of course, I've been here almost 30 years. It'll be 30 years in March of 2026.
Wow,
So
amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
When you were younger, did you know back then that you wanted to be an actress?
No.
What was your dream?
No, I didn't. No, it wasn't even honestly on my radar. My dad was a real estate developer, so an entrepreneur. He really valued education, higher education. My dad went to Harvard, and so he was very much about the Ivy League and going that route, and not necessarily he never pushed me to become a doctor. In fact, kind of the opposite, because the very first thing that I wanted to do was be a veterinarian. I love animals. I always have loved animals. And so just as a kid, my very first idea was how can I do this forever?
Yeah.
And he was like, do you know where you have to put your hands when and I was like, oh, really? Okay. That doesn't sound good. So that kind of went out the window. And then I wanted to be a dentist because I loved my dentist. Yeah.
Okay.
And as a little kid, I wanted to be a dentist.
Okay.
And then he was like, not everybody has nice teeth, And that was kind of, I mean, totally discouraged me in weird ways. And then I thought about becoming a lawyer. I was also a really rebellious teenager. Really rebellious. So in that time, I really had major problems with my dad. And at, the time when it came to go to university, he's like, well, I'm not paying for it. And in America, you have to pay for it, So I was like, well, okay, let me figure this out. Well, I had always, from the time I would say, I went to summer camp when I was about 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. And one of the years I was in summer camp, we all had to audition for the play.
Mm-hmm.
And I auditioned just like everybody else, had no hopes or cares whether I got anything in it whatsoever. But I ended up getting the female lead. They were putting on a production of Oliver Twist.
Right.
There are basically no women except for the orphans,
Wow.
And so I ended up playing Nancy. And even that, it didn't really, I had no comprehension of what it was until, we were performing. And I can still remember looking out at the audience, seeing everybody in silhouette, the stage lights, and singing As Long as He Needs Me, which I had no clue what that meant. I was just a little kid, basically. But all of a sudden, there was this connection between me and the audience that felt otherworldly almost. And there was this beautiful feeling of connection and influence, I guess, because they were paying attention to me. In a very big way. And I almost felt like I was holding them. And there was just this magical feeling about it. And I remember going back home that year after summer camp ended, and I would just get all the neighborhood kids together and teach them all the different songs from Oliver Twist and put on these little mini plays that I would make the parents of the neighborhood watch. And I'm sure if anybody thought anything, they probably thought I would be a director. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until my dad had said, well, I'm not going to pay for university, that I was like, well, what can I do? And so I thought, well, as long as I can do whatever the hell I want to do, then I'm going to be an actor, because I always had I guess I kind of thought that it wasn't allowed. I don't know, not that I was much on what was allowed and not allowed. As I said, I was kind of a rebel, but it just wasn't on my radar as something normal people did, I guess. Yeah. So, and then when I told my grandmother, I was probably 15, 16 at that point. And my grandmother, had no idea, but my grandmother had been under contract in the 40s or something like that,
Right.
under one of the big studios in Hollywood. So she never became a big actor. She always had little parts or whatever it was. But it was a dream of hers that I never even knew about.
Wow.
And so when I told her that, she's like, fantastic. Move to Chicago. There's nothing in Detroit. Get out of there. You know, and
Wow.
come to Chicago. And she helped me move to Chicago. And, you know, she supported me, not so much financially, but very much emotionally. And although I think she did pay for my drama school. So, not RADA, but the school I was going to in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So, in any case, she just made, you know, she believed in me. We all need somebody who believes in you. You know,
That's the
because
word.
I think,
That's the word.
yeah. And we can, especially I think as young women, young people, our belief in ourselves is so fragile because we haven't built up the muscle of believing in ourselves, of doing the follow through, of holding our words to ourselves, of not letting the failures block us, of not letting the fear block us. So it's so important as a young person to borrow that belief until you have it for yourself.
Exactly. I think, as you said, having a support system, especially at that age, is so important. And especially in this industry, because that's all you've got, actually, that and your reputation. That's what I felt like. You really need that confidence and not having that imposter syndrome. You know, because a lot of actors or people in the industry, a lot of creatives have that imposter syndrome. But when you've got that from the beginning, it changes everything. I really do believe.
Yeah. And I think also just like, you know, everybody has imposter syndrome sometimes. And I think that this is something that most people don't realize. Maybe not everybody, but 90% of people have imposter syndrome sometimes. And it doesn't matter how successful they are. So it's not like the 10% that are really successful, well, they don't have it anymore. No, it just depends on your personality type and how you were raised and everything else. So it's really important to just realize there is always going to be somebody better. That doesn't make you not good.
Exactly.
And keep working on what you can work on.
Exactly. That's really that. And from that moment, so you were about 17 when you moved to Chicago. And was there at any time a meeting or an encounter that really changed everything? Or something?
No, I would say it was like a bunch of slow kind of progressions, you know? And I didn't, honestly, I think I didn't realize, you know, what do you know at 17, right? I mean, I think I just didn't realize a lot of things, you know? My boyfriend at the time was a fairly famous musician who had introduced me to a lot of people, and I ended up getting my SAG card because of him, because he knew someone whose husband was like the head of, was it Paramount or something? It was one of those. I don't even remember. My very first role on a professional film set was in Defenseless with Barbara Hershey, and I had a walk-on with one line. And that's how I got my SAG card. But that was because my boyfriend, his ex-girlfriend was married now to the head of Paramount. That was it, right? So there are these random things that happen. And I think, unfortunately, as a young person, or at least me as a young person, I definitely was not smart enough or savvy enough to recognize the opportunities for what they were and to make more of them. I think I just thought that this is how the world works. And luck just kind of kept happening. Not to say I was working on my talent, I was working on my craft, I still do. So I always took that seriously, but in other words, I'm not trying to say that I didn't have the talent to back it up. I'm not trying to put myself down, but I definitely didn't have the knowledge about the business of being an actor.
Talking about network.
Any of it. For me, there are 5 pillars of a thriving acting career.
Exactly.
It's mindset, branding, marketing, networking, and community. Period. Now, how you end up building those things, there are many ways to do that. But those are the 5 pillars that you must have. I had no clue about my brand. Everybody back then, Demi Moore was the big actor back then. It was the 80s, right? So everybody was always comparing me to Demi Moore, you know.
Okay.
And, oh, you're like a younger Demi Moore, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, cool, okay.
And so
great.
what?
I like Demi Moore, you know. And that was kind of that. I didn't know. I didn't know anything. And what does that even mean, right? So it wasn't until I was 47 years old, as you mentioned, returning back to the industry after the 16-year break of having done only acting adjacent stuff. So I had been doing voiceover, moderating, commercials. But because I had been living in Germany, I kind of thought, like, you know, just be happy that you're even making a living as an actor, even if it's not the acting that you wanted to do. You've got this family, and just deal with it, you know. And it wasn't honestly until my son was a teenager and didn't want to hang out with me as much anymore that I realized, oh, wait a minute, like, you know, I have just dedicated 17 years of my life to this kid, our family, and I guess I did my job because now he doesn't need me anymore, but now what? Now what?
Exactly. And yeah, but so before like having that 16-year break, so how long had you worked as an actor before stopping?
Well, I would say from the time I was about 21 to 28. So 7 years. Yeah.
All right. And so you're like, you moved to Germany, you stopped for 16 years. And what made you think, okay, now is the time for me to come back and to start over? Because like you were a mom, you were a wife, you are obviously an actress. Because I think at that moment, particularly, you should say like, okay, what am I going to do to change things? There
was actually like an actual, you know, catalyst moment. There was like an inciting incident that happened.
All right.
And that was, my son and I always had a standing movie date on Friday nights. We would go to the English language cinema and watch whatever, you know, whatever was playing. And he was always my movie partner from the time he was like a little kid. First we would watch cartoons, and then we watched, you know, adventure, and then it got to be we watched grown-up films together. And he came to me on Thursday and said, Mom, do you mind if I don't hang out with you tomorrow? I want to hang out with my friends. And yeah, it was like this moment where it was like, what?
Yes,
what?
exactly.
You know? Yeah. And of course, I was like, yeah, of course, go ahead. You know, hang out with your friends. Fine.
The time has come. The time has come.
Exactly. Fine. I'll be fine.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then, but it was the first time in like 17 years that I could think about, like, what do I want? Not what does my son want, not what does my husband want, not do we want? What do I actually want? And I thought, well, you know, I think I'd just like to do an acting workshop, just for fun. And I sat down and I Googled acting workshop English Munich, and one came up. There was a coach out of LA. There was one seat open, and I whipped out my credit card. I signed up for it, went with very low expectations, very high hopes. And he was amazing. His name is Kirk Baltz. Shout out to him. Really good coach out of LA. He was the guy who got his ear cut off in Reservoir Dogs.
Oh,
and yeah. And what it did was it made me realize that this entire time there had been like this pilot light burning inside of me that I didn't even know was still on. And it just like it like combusted. I like was on fire. And it was like all of this 16 years of pent up, wanting to express myself and connect with people in this way, with these people who also get it. And it was like this. He said it, like at the last day, it was only a 3-day workshop. He was like, you, and I think there was one other person, but, pointing to me and 2 other people, you guys are on fire. You need to continue this. You need to, and I knew it. I mean, I didn't need him to tell me that, but it was like, it was like the confirmation. Like, yes, I need to continue.
You didn't need him to tell you that, but it came at the right moment, at the right time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he lit the fire. He lit that fire. And I came home and I told my husband, and I had been telling my husband, like, my husband would always, like, when people would ask, what does your wife do? He would be like, well, she does translations. I barely spoke German when I moved to Germany. So I definitely was not doing translations. But he didn't know how to, I used to get so mad. I mean, it was like, I don't know if I can swear on your thing, but.
You can. You're allowed.
I don't fucking do translations. Yes. I found it so insulting. And I would say to him, I'm an actor. But he didn't know what that meant because, first of all, it wasn't his world. Second of all, I wasn't really acting. I was doing voiceover. I was doing cartoons, I was doing video games, I was doing commercials, I was doing, narration for BMW and Audi and, all of these big companies. But all he saw, he didn't even see that. Like voiceover is a great gig if you can get it. Much less happening now than there was back then because of AI, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But you end up going into the studio and, including like having a cup of espresso beforehand and, gossiping or whatever, catching up on your weekend plans afterwards. You're in the studio for about an hour and you earn what most people earn in a month. Mm. So the money was great. The time was great. I used to bring my dogs and my son to the studio with me. They were all really well trained. Like as soon as they saw, Mama's recording.
Yes.
I had one dog. She's a Jack Russell. She was a Jack Russell. She's no longer with us.
Rest in peace.
But as soon as, they're known for being really high energy. Mm-hmm. As soon as I would say, I'm recording, she would be like,
really?
Afraid to move a muscle. She would lay on the ground with her little arms would be like stiff in front of her. Because she was afraid to even relax. It was like, and then I would say, okay, as soon as I was done with the take or something, and then she'd be like, But I don't know, did I answer your question?
It's perfect. It's going the way I want it to go, and it's perfect because even though you were not acting on screen, you are still working, and it's also important to say that to people because I am in that moment in time where I don't have much screen acting going on, and you need to to refocus on something else. And it doesn't mean I just had this conversation with my agent. Actually, he was like, "Don't try to punish yourself. Don't be too harsh on yourself. You can do something else." And we tend to forget that even if we are actors, we are still actors, even if we're not acting on screen. And so you were still
absolutely
busy. It's
absolutely.
important.
And you know what? I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of my videos. This is something I really talk about, is learning how to take what you love and make that also a way to make money besides just getting cast. So we all as actors need to be working on our skills constantly, be updating our headshots, be updating our reel to be more, because let's face it, we're not always cast ideally or how we would like to be cast. We may be getting typecast, that's one thing. We may just have some smaller roles on our reel as opposed to the bigger roles. And so unless we need to be able to have a reel that shows the industry where you're capable of going and not just where you've been. So I'm always talking about, take what you get paid to use what you need to get what you want.
Exactly.
You just have to be strategic about it. And the way I did that, so we were talking about this workshop, right? So I came back and I immediately sat down. I told my husband, I want to be an actor. I want to relaunch my acting career. He was like, okay, typical German. He had no clue what, whatever,
Did you say so?
Okay, yeah, no clue what that meant. And I was like, okay, good, game on. And so I sat down immediately and was like, okay, where's the next workshop? And there wasn't one, not in English. There was some stuff in German, but I had my doubts as well about, to be very honest, the level.
Yeah.
Because I was arrogant, right? I had been a professional actor.
So
and I did not, and I didn't want to, look, water will find its level. So I knew I could find amateur groups to be a part of. But I didn't want them pulling me down.
Can you say that again? Can you repeat? Because we need to hear that. Because people think that when we're not going to the amateur thing, it means we're downsizing it. It's just like the level you wanted to achieve, and you don't want to go down.
Put yourself in a room with those people. Be the worst one, the least talented, the stupidest person in the room.
Preach.
If you want to grow. Yes, absolutely. It doesn't feel good in the moment, but you are growing. Don't feed your ego, feed your growth.
Amen.
Yeah.
True.
So that was a problem, though, that there was nothing else on offer in Munich. And I thought, okay, so let me check that, the closest thing would have been London for me. So I was looking and I was like, okay, that's not going to be very realistic to be flying to London once, twice a month, because I was like, I need my skills and my confidence back where they need to be so that I can truly relaunch my career. And that, presented me with my very first problem, my very first obstacle. But I find that the answers are always inside of the obstacle, and they're usually the opposite. So for me, there was no high caliber English level acting training in Munich. So I started to bring it to Munich. So I brought in coaches from London, from LA, from New York, from Berlin.
But my question is, how did you reach out? Did you know those persons?
No, I didn't.
So how did it go from, okay, I need to go back to the level I was before after 16, 17 years to, okay, now I've done a workshop with this LA casting director. It was good. I need
acting coach.
Acting coach.
Yeah.
It was so good that I need the same for my next workshop. So did you where did your research begin actually? What did you do to go from
So I did know some people, there was a woman who was the top person in the amateur theater. So she also worked professionally. So she was the one doing the directing and things like that. And we would see each other occasionally when we did voice work. She's English. And, God, I haven't seen her in ages, but in any case, so I had told her, I had said what I wanted to do. So this is something that I think that people also really overlook. Let people know what you want. Put it out there. Don't keep these things to yourself because you're trying to not look like an idiot or look stupid or whatever it may happen to be. Let people know what you are trying to do. Just be honest about where you're at and what you want. And she gave me the name of a couple of acting coaches, names of a couple of acting coaches in London, and ended up reaching out to them. And the first one that responded was Giles Foreman. And I was just, again, super honest about where I was at. I was just like, hey, I used to be a professional actor. I guess I still am. I still technically earn my money that way. But I was SAG-AFTRA in America. I haven't really acted in 16 years. I would love to bring you to Munich. What does that look like? And then, we just had conversations about that. What does that look like? What is that going to, what is that, what do we need to make that happen? And it wasn't nearly as difficult as I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought him in. I ended up selling out that very first workshop just by, again, putting the word out, letting people know, like, this is what I'm doing and this is what it is. And, I only wanted to sell 11 spots because, as you know, acting workshops, you need to keep them small so everybody gets a chance to act.
Exactly.
So I wasn't trying to sell 100 spots.
No, of course not.
Right? Yeah. So I was just trying to sell 11 other spots, and I would have been happy with less. My very first thing was just like, let me just get the training here for what I paid for that other workshop. But what ended up happening was I ended up earning 1,300 euros and I got my training for free. But more importantly, but it was, okay, so let me stop there because there were a lot of things happening were like bing, 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 like all of these lights were going off in my head. First of all, that it was possible to reach it. I think we often so overestimate the amount of rejection we're going to get.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. That was like the first lesson. The second lesson is, hey, look, everything is figure outable. Where there's a will, there is a way. Mm-hmm. And you can do this. Right? So that was another thing. The third thing was like, wow, there are other people who also want what I am wanting for myself. And then the final thing that really like brought it all together was, holy shit, I can get paid to get what I need as I'm building towards what I want. And that was like this, like moment.
Mind-blowing moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I didn't even realize like all of the benefits of the workshop. I was only into the training. So that was it. That was all I was interested in. Just, make me better, make me a better actor. But what I didn't realize was happening was I was also at the same time building this community of actors who also valued the craft like I do. And I'm still friends and collaborators with some of the people from that very first workshop.
When was it?
Which is, oh my God, this is 14, 15 years ago, something like that.
Wow.
2013. It was 2013.
All right.
So 15 years ago. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, and these actors, I think oftentimes as actors, we can get into this thing of scarcity. Like, I'm not going to tell you about my agent.
Yeah.
I'm not going to recommend you. I'm not going to tell you about this film I just got cast in or that I just auditioned for because, you and I can be going up for the same role.
Exactly.
And frankly, if the role is meant for you, it's going to go to you. And if the role is meant for me, it's going to go to me. And, that is just what it is. And just stop being so mine, because in the sharing of these resources, which is what I was doing, I was sharing my resources as I was building them, right? And the other interesting thing that did for me was it put me almost immediately as a leader in the acting community in Munich.
Yeah.
Like 3 workshops down the line, people were inviting me to things. I was going to film festivals. I was getting invited to premieres. I was invited to join BFFS, which is the SAG in Germany. Maybe it took longer on that one.
But it was a niche because you were one of the first who were doing that. Because, as you said, there were not so many English workshops.
It was totally a niche in English.
Yes.
But what it ended up doing was putting me on the radar for everybody else.
Exactly.
So there was also like a progression. I didn't realize my ultimate goal was just get confident, get what I need to relaunch my career. And so I did these workshops. I was bringing coaches in 2 to 3 times a month, and I was organizing rehearsals in between. so that whatever we had learned, if you had participated in a big workshop, I called them big and little workshops. If you had participated in a big workshop, then you could participate in the little workshops. And all we were doing was basically, it was paying a nominal fee, for my time and the organization and renting the room and blah, blah, blah. But it was like nothing, right, to train. And I was also letting other people in who maybe weren't ready to invest in the bigger workshops, or maybe weren't even at a certain level. Although I did make people audition for my little workshops.
Really?
Like if I didn't know your work, I used to make them audition. I'm telling you, I was arrogant.
I love it. I love it.
Yes, I totally did. And so I did that. And then that first year, I was growing my community, growing my knowledge. Like this agent, that casting director, this photographer, that production company, or that production is happening, this indie film, whatever it was, right? I was learning about all these things that I would never have known about. This get together once a month, all of these things, right? So that was amazing. That came from the other actors. And actors, look, we're all multifaceted. Look at you, Bertha. You also have your podcast. We are all, I think, multi-passionate, multi-creative. And many actors will go on to shoot their own films and write their own films and produce them and this and that. And so, I can literally just right now name a handful of people that I know who have done that and done it successfully. And so these don't discount what cultivating relationships with other actors will do, but do it in a way that's smart. Don't hang out with the actors that are just complaining about how much their agent sucks. Hang out with the actors that are going, ooh, I haven't gotten a lot of auditions lately. What can I do about this? What can I do? Those are the actors you want to be hanging out with.
But I think it's coming from also where you're living, because I tend to think that, sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
But it's more about when you're living in Europe, especially in Europe, it's not the same spirit or mentality than in the UK, even though it's Europe or United States. And the mentality here for me is more like so small sometimes that we tend to forget that we can go international, we can do more things. And I remember like maybe 15 years ago, 20 years back, when I was saying I am an actress, but I am also a singer and I'm also a performer, and it was too much for them. It was like, what are you? They need you to be in this little box.
You need to find a way to show them how that integrates into everything,
But that was 20 years back. Now it's kind of moving and
it
changing.
is getting better, definitely. I love breaking that bubble here in Europe. So I have a lot of clients here in Europe, and they're always kind of afraid to try some of the things that I'm telling them to try.
Exactly, yeah.
But when they do it, it's like, oh my God, that worked.
Exactly, yeah.
And so it makes such a difference. Just to honestly, look, fear is not going to go away. Americans are not less fearful. Americans are more willing to do it anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my point exactly.
Yeah. And this is really what I want to bring home, especially to Europeans. People are people. Doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter. People are people. And it's so interesting because I'm doing a bundle. You're the first one hearing about it.
Oh,
actually,
great!
By the time it comes out, it'll probably be already out. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is 24 other coaches from Europe and America are giving away some of their best stuff. So a master class or a workshop or a challenge or a guide or a reference, whatever it is, but they're giving away some of their best stuff.
Okay.
And these are all people dedicated to helping actors. And one of my friends is a German actor and coach based in Berlin. Mm-hmm. And she's really good. And I was like, join the bundle, join the challenge, the bundle. Mm-hmm. And, offer something. She does branding. And she's like, oh, I don't know. Mine is for the German market. I was like, what do you mean yours is for the German market? Branding is branding.
Yes.
I was like, I coach a lot of people in Germany. And I don't know what you're doing that's different from what I'm doing. But as far as I know, branding is branding. But maybe you know something that I don't know. I'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then and I was like, it's up to you. I'm putting it out there. If you would like to participate, I would love to have you. And anyway, a couple of days later, she was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, of course. And she was keeping herself small. And now she's also participating. But, this is only to say that we do this to ourselves. We get these ideas, these limiting beliefs in our head. And I always have to say to my clients, to people in general, says who? Who says that? And how do you know it's true, even if there is somebody saying it?
Yeah, because
question everything, especially what's going on here.
I love hearing that because that's how I've been since the beginning. Like when I started back 15 years ago, or almost 17 years ago, I said, okay, I'm an actress, but I'm more than that. You know what I mean? And I can use all those skills together because at the end of the day, my instrument is my voice and my body. Yeah. So I can use it in different ways. So I started as an actor, and then I was like, maybe as a singer as well, because I'm singing since I'm like 5 years old, I think. And I said, oh, maybe I can be a presenter, a host for film festival. And then I went there. And then I said, oh, maybe I can be, I don't know, I can produce my own music. I've done that through crowdfunding, and I produced an EP and an album. I co-produced, because I said, okay, because I was really drawn to your video because you were saying, as all the actors, you're all doing the right things. The material, your everything is right, but you're all doing the same things. Who stand out? So because casting director, and especially now, because it's like with the self-tape, it opens doors to so many people around the globe. Everybody's doing the same thing. So what makes you stand out?
Yeah.
And you're like, we are all like drowning because we're all doing the same things. But what we really need, in one of those videos, you said what you really need is take your obstacles and try to make it happen, and really try to use what you already have and try to reach out the right people. Don't be in this,
You're close. So take your obstacles and use them as starting points.
Exactly. But
for instance.
Yeah, but we are waiting. That's the problem.
Yes, people are waiting. And I think also people are not clear with themselves what they want. Mm-hmm. The number one thing when I ask a new client, if I could wave a magic wand for you and you could have your career of your dreams in 1 year, what does that look like? And the answer 98% of the time is I just want to work. Just want to work.
Exactly.
What does that mean though? Because it means 1,000 different things. There's something in there that you are afraid to admit. Say what it is. Put it out there. Own it. If you can't even say what you want, how are you supposed to get it? Right? Mm-hmm. So that's a huge thing. So the very first thing is, and I think this happens, definitely happened to me, is, we see what we want. There's this goal. And people do have it. They just won't admit it. Mm-hmm. So I want to be the lead in a Netflix series. I want to be, or an Apple TV or whatever it is, in a big time streaming series, right? Or I want to play Hamlet at the National Theater. Whatever your dream, I want to have my own one woman show. I want to, I want to do stand-up comedy. I want to do action films. I want. I mean, there are a million different things, right? And it looks different for every one of us. Maybe your ideal career is something that combines your love of singing and acting together. And luckily for you, there are a lot of new films coming out that do that. Like, so maybe it's something like what Hugh Jackman is doing and what Lady Gaga has done and what God, there are so many, La La Land and, right? Where people break into song like they did back in the 1940s.
Right.
That's kind of making a comeback now. So it's identifying what is your ideal path and then reverse engineering that and looking, okay, where am I now? And what is keeping me right now from just getting one step closer to that? And then figuring out how to get that thing. Now, naturally, I think you should get it in a way that also gets you paid. So, yeah. So you organize something, you figure it out. So a lot of times, I have something I call the sick framework, right? Because if your career is ailing, it's sick because of one of these three things. That would be skills, industry proof, connections, or knowledge. So it's always going to be one of those four things, but it's generally some sort of combination of those things. And so you just have to figure it out. So when I first was relaunching my career, it was all about skills and industry knowledge.
Exactly.
Right? When I got to a certain point where I was like, okay, I feel ready now. I feel like, yeah, I can do this. Okay, then I was like, but I don't, my show reel is 17 years old at this point, almost 18 years old. Nobody cares what I did in my 20s. I'm almost 50 now. What do I do now? So the next thing was, okay, so let me put together a show reel event for myself and for other actors. And at this point now I knew a bunch of other actors. And do that in a way that is not going to cost me thousands of euros. And as a matter of fact, naturally, I got paid for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but not so much that is unfair either, right? What I wanted was the material. That's what I wanted. And that's what I, ended up getting.
Exactly.
And then later again, and then that was kind of it. And then I relaunched my career and got my agent and started working and da-da-da. Couple of years into it, though, I realized, I keep getting typecast. And I wasn't crazy about the way I was being typecast. So I still get this. So it's not that the typecasting is done. It's just that now I also get offers for roles with a little more complexity.
Yeah.
Before I was just getting the facade. So I always get some sort of bitch in charge role.
Okay.
It's always going to be some sort of like woman in like an authority position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. And now, what I also get a lot of, the other role that I go into a lot, and these are much more my heart roles, are like mothers who are torn by their own desire to do something more with themselves than just be a mother. I can completely relate to that.
Yeah.
And yet have this really fierce love. So there's like this inherent conflict in it. And I love roles like that. And I also play like almost always kind of morally ambiguous people.
I love that you're talking about typecast, because my type is very specific. It's difficult for people like in the industry to hire me because I have that really specific look and I cannot play any role.
But that's a good thing.
Yeah,
right?
it is positive. I'm not against that, but that makes it more difficult. Because
it doesn't make it more difficult. You need to lean into that. Honestly. Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I think that because I know my type, like usually when I was younger, but okay. The difference also is like me as a black woman, for some reasons, casting director, they will not see me as a mother because they say, yeah, but you don't seem like a mother, you're too young or whatever. And then after a while, they say, okay, you can be a mother. It was kind of weird. So the mother thing, the nurse, and also those really strong women because of how I look, just how I look. And it wasn't a problem.
But you do also have an air of authority about you.
Yeah, I have an energy, like naturally,
Yeah.
this is who I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not going against it because I know it, but I tend to think that, and most of the people, the feedback I got from the people are, you're very specific. Your profile is very specific. So even though casting directors know who you are, it's very difficult for them to cast you.
So let me tell you,
yes.
If you were my client, I would just say,
please
then
do.
what what you need to do is show them what you are capable of. Because right now, even though you think it's very clear, if it were so clear, they wouldn't have questions. They would know exactly how to cast you. And so what you need to do is make it super, super clear to them through your materials. I believe that an EPK, which is an electronic pitch kit, is an amazing tool for an actor, much better than the casting portals. Because we all look the same, we're about this big, and all they're looking at are your credits. So if you want to be reduced to those black and white credits that are definitely not telling all of the whole story of who you are and what you're capable of, then by all means, just use that. But if you really want to begin to build relationships as a human being and as an actor, then you must find a way to break through that. And one of the ways is by fully leaning into who you are, what you do, and showing them all the things that they are obviously not getting.
All right. I think that through my headshot, I'm trying to have that because, as you say, we're that little when they watch, you know. So I think you have to stand out, like you have to pay attention to the kind of headshot you have. I'm trying to do that through my materials because most of the role I had, the last one I had, was in a short film where I was playing a mentor, and just the film itself. When I received the role, I said, I don't have to play because this is me, actually. So I leaned into it because I said, this is me. I don't have to.
Do you have kids?
I don't.
You don't have kids. Okay. So maybe they pick up on that, who knows? But if you want to play mothers, right? I did. So because being a mother is a huge part of who I am. And so I put that in my show reel. Yeah. And I think that that's really, really, really important. But if you want to show like a softer side, that maybe being a mentor, like having that in your show reel, is a great addition to that, right? So finding ways to bring in, all of our core traits, they live on a spectrum. And whatever core trait, even if you're someone who, you say your core trait is humor, well, that can lean into, on the positive side, that can lean into influence and charm and, all of these positive things. But on the negative side, it can be dismissive, it can be sarcastic, it can be snarky, smart aleck, right? So there are all these, and then of course there are the things in the middle, right? It's just the, funny for funny sake. But none of that goes away. It's just, what do you want to amplify? Yeah. And, I always think, the way I try and explain it is these core traits, and obviously we are faceted diamonds. We've got lots of traits, right? But we've got these major things that come out that people get right off the bat. Mine, strength, right? Yours, also strength. So that can be something that I can be intimidating. I can be right? So that it can, on the bad side, I can be manipulative, I can be intimidating, I can, all of these things that are on the bad side of strength. And on the good side of strength is I can inspire, I can motivate.
Exactly.
I can, I can lead.
But what I want to do now is showing the more vulnerable side, because I am typecast as really strong. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. I'm very intimidated. I'm in control. And now they tend to typecast me as authoritative, like boss, mentor, and stuff. And I want to show them also now it's even though I am strong, I am also a human being, and I'm also vulnerable. And I tend to want to go that side to show them. And
so also, what I would say is, look, is create a scene for yourself where you are cast as they see you are, right? So the first thing that popped into my mind is, I don't know, like you are the CEO of a big company, and maybe your niece or nephew is working for you and you've got to fire them and you love this kid. And you do it as the CEO, and maybe as soon as the kid walks out of the room is when you break.
Exactly, yeah.
That's when we see your vulnerability. And that can be done in 90 seconds.
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a big, long scene.
Yeah, just to show
and we
them.
can see the cracks in, as before you fully break.
Yeah.
But you're, of course, trying to pull it. But it's great because there's so much conflict in there. And it's totally believable. Just because you're strong doesn't mean you don't love and you don't hurt.
That's the problem. That's how people perceive you. That when you say a strong woman, someone who's always like, I'm always, let's go, let's do this. And they just tend to forget. Even me as a person, not as an actress, people tend to see me, no, but she knows what she's doing. She's going to be okay. And they tend to forget, yes, but from time to time, this happened. This is difficult. I can be vulnerable. And so, and I think, and maybe also it's up to me because I just show them that side precisely. And maybe I don't show them more of my vulnerable side.
Well, we don't all want to walk around like, with the masks slipping all the time. First of all, normal society doesn't want to see it.
Yeah, exactly. Voilà.
Right?
Exactly.
We're supposed to have it together.
All the time. All the time.
Right. And I had to also really work on this within my own acting and my own, what I was showing, how I was positioning myself. Because here's the thing, you have a brand, whether, and I don't mean you, just you, Bertha. I just mean all actors have a brand. Whether you have actively worked on creating this brand for yourself, or you have just let the industry come up with their own ideas about you, it has happened. So it is much more strategic to figure this shit out and help them to understand what makes you unique. Because when they understand that, then they know how to use you. And here's another thing. So I don't know about you, but like for me in Germany, I was always getting, in the beginning, it was like they would only cast me in the German stuff if it was like that they had a role for an American woman. It was like, what?
Why?
Yeah. I speak German. I'm married to a German. My kid is German. My dog is German. My friends are German. I live here. What do you want from me? And I have a feeling you probably also will get this, although I'm sure it's getting much better in France as well. Because I know this in Germany.
No, in Belgium is not. No, in Belgium I speak Dutch, but I speak like broken Dutch. And when they are casting me in the Dutch part, so in the north, because I have an accent, speaking Dutch is like, no, she's going to be the person coming from another country. But I say, when you're living in Belgium, usually your children will speak perfect Dutch or French, whatever, because they were born here. But you, as an adult, you came here as a grown-up. You came here when you were like maybe 20 or 25 or 35. So you come with your You came with your accent.
Your accent. I have an accent in German,
exactly.
for sure.
So every parents can relate to me because they will say, okay, she has a French accent, and so what? As long as you're speaking the language, and I've got that twice with a showrunner saying, yeah, but it's not perfect Dutch. I don't need to speak perfect Dutch. As long as you can understand me, because I'm living here.
I mean, are you the only person in all of Belgium who doesn't speak perfect Dutch?
That's what I'm saying. And for them, it's like,
crazy.
yeah, but we know our audience. I say, I totally understand, but at one point, we are in 2025, you have to stop that bullshit. Because depending where we're living.
But you know what? Here's the thing. You can only control what you can control.
Exactly. So
you can control how you think, what you do, and how you choose to perceive things. You are not going to convince someone who has a small mind to open that mind. But I'm sure that there are other people who don't think like that. So you have to find them.
Yes.
And you also need to have materials to show them the kinds of roles that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it is. So for me, that was also a big thing was that until I just, started to get cast more in just German productions as like, I just happened to be, why not? Why shouldn't I have an accent? Right. But it was a while into that. And I'm sure that there are still people who think, no.
I think it's changing. It's just like when you are on set with people like that, I will not fight. I will just tell them, this is the reality. Yeah, daily life, this is how it happens. I'm not there to change things because they gave me the opportunity to be there, and I was able and I was lucky enough to be casted in those roles where they were not expecting me. So I say, things are changing. They are accepting this, but I think it's just, as you said, okay, those people exist, other people exist, and you just have to go with your people. You know what I mean? So, and I was really like lucky because I was cast in one of the most popular show here in Belgium in the Dutch part called Thuis, Home. And I never expected to be casted like in that thing because as a French speaking, I was like, wow. And it was already amazing. And I just said, I was just thankful and grateful because I said, this is who I am and it's not going to change. Even though I will speak perfect Dutch, but it will always...
And besides, Belgium is so half and half anyway.
It is so half and half, as you said. And also, we are the capital of Europe with so many different people from so many different countries. So at one point, you cannot do anything else. But if you really want to cast, of course, people from the Dutch part, I totally understand that. For some shows, it's so specific because we have different accents and dialects.
Sure.
And I totally get that. I'm not against it. But as you said, at one point, I know who I am. I know where I'm going. And I'm not going to change things that I cannot change. That's it. I'm just going to go with the flow.
And you need to, you and I both are for modern shows that take place within the countries that we live.
Exactly.
And we're not, nobody's going to cast me in a period piece about Nazi Germany because... I wouldn't have been here.
Okay, we know.
If I were a man, I might have been here as a soldier, as an American soldier. But as a woman, I would not have been here.
You just have to know. You just have to know. And that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not bitter or I'm not against. I'm just like, okay, I saw that. I know that it exists. So what am I going to do with that information? How I'm going to navigate through that without being frustrated or bitter or whatever, because that's not the point. When I was on the set, I said it out loud. Okay, this is the reality. If you want to go with it, great. If not, I'm just going to do whatever you want. And then I know that the next time I will do something else, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's all. Yeah. So let me go back to my little a piece of advice that you would have wanted to receive when you started, and a piece of advice for someone who is starting out today.
Don't wait so long to start ignoring your fears.
That's nice.
I think for me, I really let fear of rejection, fear of failure block me in a lot of ways, especially before I moved to Europe.
Yeah.
So especially, when I was in America. And I would never do that now. I would just, like, whatever, I'm going to find my people and it is what it is. You know? It's not that I'm not afraid. I still don't like rejection. I like everybody else. You know, it still hurts. It still sucks. It's still not fun. But so what? You know?
We're going to have a quick game now. It's just
let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. Really fun and rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Okay.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Morning or evening?
I'm half and half.
All right. 3 words that describe you.
Mom, creative, ambitious.
A place that brings you back to yourself when you need to relax.
Oh God, what's relaxing?
Or something that you like to do. It can be an activity or whatever.
I love to paint. I love to paint. I love to write.
Mm-hmm.
These are 2 activities that I can lose hours in.
Oh, wow.
If you know, if I, like, many lifetimes, right?
Yes.
I need many lifetimes to do everything I want to do. Like, I would have also have loved to have been an artist, or I would have loved to have been an author. Right there, and maybe I will. Who knows? In, you know, some iteration, but there's only so much time.
Exactly.
In the day.
When there's life, there's hope. So let's just go from there.
Exactly.
One essential you always carry with you.
My purse. It's got everything. It's huge.
Oh, we all have that.
I take it everywhere.
Oh my God.
I mean, literally everywhere. Like, I will get up, you know, at a friend's house to go to the bathroom, and I take my purse. Who knows what I might need that's in there, right?
Your current cultural recommendation. It can be a book, a film, a show, music.
You know, I just saw last night. I just saw The Fifth Step. It's was streaming out of the National Theater. So I don't know if you ever watched some of the plays that are streaming from the National Theater.
No.
Fantastic.
Okay.
This is, I've done this occasionally. It's not something I do all the time. But I really highly recommend watching those.
Right.
That was particularly good, but they're really worth watching. First of all, honestly, you have the best seat in the house.
Oh, okay.
They do close-ups. They are so well filmed.
Wow.
You hear everything, you see everything. You know how, like, it was a theater in the round piece? And, you know, I was looking at the audience. There was several points in the play where the actors had their backs to part of the audience.
Yes.
Not for us. Not for us in the theater. And I'm chewing on my popcorn and sucking on my Diet Coke.
Oh, wow. I have definitely to do that. That's a great one.
Yeah.
A quote or a mantra that guides you.
Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
That's good. That's really good. Thank you. Now, let's talk about, before we go coming to an end, your current project. So you have Actful. Is it your podcast, or is it just podcast or YouTube? Oh my God, you have all the props. That's great.
Actful.
Let's talk about
Actful is my podcast. It's also the umbrella for my business. So I have a business. I have an LLC, which is, I'm not even sure what the heck it's called in French or German even. But it's like a business. I have a real business.
Yes. Okay.
And the name of my business is
Actful. Actful. Okay.
Yes. And it's like my life and work. I try to make it my work mantra, you know, to be bold in my choices, to be bold as a human being and as an actor. And that's why I act bold. And I have one main thing that, you know, which is called the Curator Academy. And this is where
Let's talk about it for a couple minutes. Curator Academy. Tell us what is it exactly?
So the Curator Academy is where I help actors who take their career and their craft very seriously, but they've reached a point where they feel like they've been doing all the things, they've been working on their show reel, they've got their headshots, they have an agent, the casting directors know them, but they are just not getting further in their career. And I help them to build the access and the visibility that they need as they're getting paid. So using what they need to get what they want, so that every event that they create is a strategic step forward, giving them something else from that SICK framework, right? So skills, industry proof, connections, or knowledge that is getting you closer to your goals. So it's really how to make the journey, I think as actors and artists, all of us basically, but as actors for sure, we have this idea that we just need to keep paying with our time, energy, finances, all of that, until one day down the line, our career pays us back. And I know that you can make the journey just as valuable and just as lucrative, maybe not just as, we're not talking about millions of dollars, but certainly a livable wage as you are getting what you need. So think about what you pay out. Like I know for me, I was paying thousands in workshops and things like that every year. And I was like, why am I doing this? Let me just organize this thing for myself. So also getting what I needed, right, in terms of that for free and earning on top of it. So like that first year, I always love to use that as an example because it was so clean, right? Because it was all I was doing were the workshops. So that first year I earned almost 50,000 euros, but I ended up getting about 12,000 euros of free training. So value, 62,000 euros. And that was on my schedule, in my town, in my, when I wanted to do it. And not only was I getting that, but my son, I would make my son take acting workshops.
Really?
So he was also getting all this acting training for free, right? Because it was like I would bring in these amazing coaches. I didn't bring him to all the workshops because some were, not for teenagers. But for the ones that I thought would be good, and sometimes I would just organize a second set of workshops with that coach that was much more condensed for teenagers, for kids 15 to 18 or something like that. My son, right? Always using like what I wanted, what I needed, and in this case, what I felt my son wanted and needed. Right? To get what we needed from that. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
Sign me in. I'm gonna go there. The career.
Yeah, good. Project. You should. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to talk to you about it when we finish this. And really, absolutely.
Really, because I think it sounds really interesting. And one of the last question is like an achievement you're particularly proud of.
Oh.
Besides your family, your son.
Besides my family, of course, that's the first thing that comes
best.
into my mind. Yeah, my son is so handsome.
Of course.
Wait, where's my phone? Right now. Let me just show you.
I'm pretty sure your family is the most important thing, of course.
Yeah.
But
I'm really, really proud of the way that first of all, let me say this. The thing I value most about myself, above anything else, that I think is good about me, is my creativity. And being able to use that creativity not just in what people think of as creativity, painting, acting, writing, whatever, singing, but also to fix problems.
Yeah.
To find solutions. And so I'm really, really proud because when I decided to return to acting at 47 years old as an American living in Munich, Germany, everybody, I'm sure, the butt of many jokes in this circle of friends that we have that have nothing to do with the industry. And I was really proud to be able to be on, work for studios like Netflix, Hallmark, A24, Amazon, German productions that are really big like Tatort and Soko, that are like the pinnacle of like, if you could have been on a Tatort, it's like our procedural, but it's been running forever, then you have reached a certain level of acting because you have to be a good actor to be on the show. So I had reached this level in Germany, right?
Wow.
In Germany, on a German show. So I'm really proud of that. And I'm not saying it's because I was so great. It was just because I was like, I'm going to figure it out. And I just kept doing that.
Yeah. And you did. It's
And
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Congratulations. Really.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
yeah,
no, that's really great. And my last question for you before we're wrapping it up, who would you want me to interview in this industry talks?
Oh, wow. I think somebody from, well, I keep thinking you're French, but you're Belgium. You're Dutch.
I'm French from Belgium, but it doesn't matter.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
You have the French-speaking part, the Dutch-speaking part.
Yeah, the first show that jumped in my head, and maybe it doesn't even matter, was Call My Agent, the Parisian one.
Oh, yes.
So somebody from that. That is such a good show.
Okay.
You know who else I love?
Okay,
Yeah.
give me one name.
Anybody, like a showrunner or a screenwriter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they have writers' rooms, or one of the actors will be amazing, but it doesn't even have to be one of the big actors.
No, but just someone who you think can be interesting.
Yeah, that's a great show. You know what else is really a good show?
Yeah.
I also a French show. Oh God, his name is Gad, G-A-D.
Gad Elmaleh.
Yeah.
Yes.
The comedian.
Yes.
Yes. He is also, I'm sure he would be delightful to interview. He just seems like he would be so warm and funny and fun. You know?
Gad, si tu m'entends, you're my next guest.
Shut up. And then you come on my cast, okay?
I will. And I will tell you, oh my God, thank you so much, Anne. I got Gad Elmaleh. Okay? You will be my
I would love that for you. Let's put it out there, right? You got to put it out there.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Anne. It was an insightful, deep, wonderful meeting. Thank you for joining me and for accepting my invitation.
Great. And if anybody wants to get in touch,
please,
you can find me. Yeah, you can find me on my YouTube channel. It's Act Bold. I also have Instagram, Act Bold. Mm-hmm. My name is Alexander-Seider, S-I-E-D-E-R, and you can find me pretty much anywhere.
I'm going to put all the information in the description here below. Thank you so much, Guy, for being with us today. And please follow us, follow Anne. She is an amazing person, actress, a mentor, coach. You've heard it all. And you can also have all the information on her YouTube channel or on Instagram, because you can also follow her on Instagram or follow her podcast also that you can find on Spotify because I am listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
So you have to follow my lead. Thank you so much, Guy. Please stay connected and we'll see each other very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.